The True North, the racing podcast, is presented by Vision 20 Studios. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
I'm Megan Mitchell. This is my co-host, John Morrison, and you are listening to the True North Racing Podcast.
Time to strap in, pull those belts, and get ready for an action-packed episode of the True North Racing Podcast. Are you ready to unmask? Unhelmet your favorite racers? Get ready for the most fun you'll have outside the racetrack to get you ready for the next race. You're listening to John Morrison and Megan Mitchell, and this is the True North Racing Podcast.
Welcome back to a new week of the True North Racing Podcast presented by Vision 20 Studios. I'm John Morrison. Joining me as always is our amazing co-host, Megan Mitchell. Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How was your weekend?
Not too bad. How about you?
It was good. I had the kids this weekend. We did a lot of cleaning.
Yeah.
As you know, we've been moving some rooms around and stuff like that, and you're still probably trying to get a little used to me sitting down for a change.
Yeah.
So the boys are in their own room now, and part of their job was to, when they came over, is that they were going to have to help us clean up, and they were going to have to help us organize their room the way they want it, because once the room is finished, which should be this week, I shouldn't have to clean their room. That is the goal here. Is that when they show up Friday, that room should look just as it does on Sunday when they go home.
That's reasonable.
Now, the good part is we don't have toys. We don't got anything in there. So
yeah.
That's the bonus part on our end. What'd you get up to this weekend?
We had our dad, an early birthday dinner for our dad, and then did an escape room, and then just chilled today. Nice. That's about it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a pretty good weekend.
Mm-hmm.
When is your dad's birthday?
February 27th.
Oh, so when's Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
I'm trying to think over here for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. No, it's not Wednesday because I get paid Thursday. Thursday's the 29th. So that means it's 2 days prior to that. It's like, it was a meme I saw today, and it was like, normal people, 7 + 6 = 13. Me, if 7 and 7 is 14, -1 is 6, that means 7 plus.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's I just thought, as soon as I said that, I was like, man, that kind of sounds like a freaking meme I saw today.
That's my math.
Trust me, I only do 2 ways of math. I do not divide, and I do not I do not subtract. But multiplication and addition, I'm pretty good. Actually, last night we went and saw the movie Migration, the new Illumination movie. It was pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. Now, the only problem I had, and it wasn't even with the movie. Actually, one of the scenes, I hope no little kids are listening to this, because this is gonna. I'm really sorry to anyone who's listening with their kids in the car or wherever you are right now. So, and you haven't seen this yet, I highly suggest you go see it. Second of all, Megan, this one scene, I laughed so hard. Okay, because we were sitting there, and so these ducks are trying to fly south for the winter. Okay. I'm not going to get into too much of the premise of the movie, but anyways, they got really, really tired. The little one, if you've seen the promo, she's like, I can't go in the air, all this other stuff, right? She's like she can't go to the bathroom, whatever. And so they land, and when they land, she's like, someone's watching me. And they find this like tunnel. Okay. So they go into the tunnel, and then these ducks are doing yoga.
Okay.
And it's almost, it is gonna, and this is no harm to any religion if you practice, but it was almost giving me Catholic church vibes. The head chicken there had a robe that came around and folded down, kind of like a Catholic priest does. And it was, and they were like, "Oh, it's so magical here. There's us. They just gave us a slide. They feed us well. They do this. They do that." And I'm sitting there laughing so hard because I understood the joke, the darker joke behind it here.
Yeah.
And it was that they were free roam ducks. And I knew something was gonna come up. And sure enough, what I see about I want to see about 4 minutes into this particular scene.
Mm-hmm.
There was truck smokestacks in the background, and they were backing up, and they're like, "We're being taken to the promised land. There's food. There's this."
Oh no!
Oh my god! If you haven't seen Migration, I highly suggest it. It is a pretty good one. I had to, so actually last week I had to kind of laugh because after we got done recording on the Monday, I went and started watching the 500.
Right.
I was literally editing up here. I was editing up here, getting everything ready. So I was listening to MRN on my phone, and 6 laps in. Do you remember who Jay picked to win the 500?
Who Jay picked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who did he pick?
Jimmy Johnson.
Guess who was involved in lap 6 wreck?
Mm.
I think he continued, but I kept running off for not too much longer.
Oh no.
Yeah, but that was, I know it's, we when we record, it's so, we could almost, if we actually sat down and watched the cup race on a Sunday, we could 100% be like a teardown show.
Yeah.
Like the teardown podcast down in the States. We 100% could. But no, because neither one, we're usually busy, so we can't always watch the NASCAR race. So like if something happens the week before, either one, we're in the middle of recording what happens, or two,
yeah,
you know, we're just about you know, or we're like, I'm in the middle of taking my kids home or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like tonight, like in my opinion, it's like the NASCAR race on last Monday, that was a crap finish.
I didn't even. I
Did
heard
you hear what
it.
happened?
Yeah.
So they were coming to the white flag. There was cars spinning, I want to say almost by the pit road entrance. I had enough time to say caution 3 times before they even crossed that start finish line. And what they were going to do is they were going to let it slide if the 2 kept to the inside of the track.
Right.
But he came up across the track. Okay, safety, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But after rewatching it, give us a finish. Give us a finish that we're excited about. Exactly. As soon as they said the race was over, I'm like, you like,
it sucks.
I don't even want to say what I want to say, so I'll say it to you before we bring in our guest, because it's so bad I couldn't say it on here.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just what I will say is that the Atlanta finish today gave me hope.
Yeah.
Whereas last weekend's race, I told Jacqueline, I was like, I'm not even excited for this race season. If the biggest race of the year, the fact that the first race of the year is the biggest race of the year, one, is kind of upsetting, but I understand it. Like, it's the 500, it's the biggest sporting event for motorsports. That I understand. But when the biggest race of the year comes down to a judgment call because of 200 yards, either, like, I say you should have restacked them. You know what? This is where I would have gone old school. Single file.
That'd be cool, yeah.
1 lap dash. Give me the green and white right there. You want to see a crapshoot? At that point, yes, next flag ends it. It would give us something to talk about throughout the week. Now we're talking something negative though.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. It's not a way to start the season.
No,
and then the Atlanta finish today, 3 wide coming to the checkers. I just saw it here on social media.
Is it that meme with like cars?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it could have been like that. No, but it was like there it is. I see the one you're talking about though. It was like 0.3 thousandths of a second.
That's wild.
Like, holy crap. The race off turn 4, you know, Kyle Busch shooting the gap, and the 3 of them staying 3 wide through 3 and 4, not wrecking, bouncing off each other, and being like that freaking close. Holy crap.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm sitting here like, yes, that's a finish that we should be proud of. I know every week it's not going to be like that.
Yeah.
Like they're about to go in the traditional style races where you spread out, you know, you're going to have that here. But to me now it just gave me a little bit more hope that we're going to have a very good year.
Oh, for sure.
That's all I ever want. I just want a good season, good finishes, solid finishes. If a guy comes out there and is prepared and whoops your butt, you better go home and do some homework.
Exactly.
Don't cry about it on social media. Go home, do your homework. Unless they are found cheating.
Yeah.
Step up your game.
Exactly.
Plain and simple. Obviously, as long as your budget allows it, I don't want to. But yeah. So this week on the True North Race podcast, we're going to be joined by Roy Wilkie, the 2023 super stock champion from Flamborough Speedway. We're going to talk about how, one, he helped save the season. He was a major force to keep the super stocks on the schedule when they were like on the brink of being like, yeah, no more.
Close.
We're also going to talk to him about what his plans are for 2024. And we're going to talk to him a lot about his background. I was chatting with him a little while ago about his career. He's been racing consistently since like if I remember correctly, it was like 1987.
Oh, wow.
Okay. This is his first championship.
Wow.
He has finished second like 3 or 4 times and within the top 5 in points on a dozen times almost. So he's got lots of stories for us. We're going to find out more about what the difference is between the late models of old and the super stocks of today, because what he was telling me is they're pretty similar actually. So without further ado, we're going to get into our graphic design studio guest spotlight of the week. We're going to be joined by Roy Wilkie. Joining us this week for our graphic design studio guest of the week, we're being joined by Roy Wilkie. Roy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How's your off season been going?
Busy. It's always busy. You race the car in the summer, and in the wintertime, you take it apart. Go over it, put it back together again.
That's always the fun thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
It's not just summertime.
Absolutely not. It's as much as people want to say racing is just a summer sport. No. Mm-hmm. You work your butt off in the winter to prepare yourself for the summer.
Yeah, that's right.
So with that being said, how's well, first of all, congratulations on your championship last year at Flamborough. First of all, let's get that out of the way. We got the champ with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna let's go over that real quick. Last year, at one point, the super stocks were actually going to be pulled from racing at Flamborough Speedway, but they were able to stay on the card right up until for Oktoberfest, if I remember correctly, and a lot of that push was from you. How about you take us a little bit through that about what the conversations were like to keep the super stocks on the schedule last year?
Yeah, I can start right at the beginning of the year if you like.
Yeah.
So we went out there we actually rented the track prior to practice, and then showed up there on practice day, and there wasn't very many cars that showed up. So I asked John, I said, are you expecting more cars? Because we're not looking very good here right now. And, he said, yeah, there'll be more cars here. Don't worry about that. And as it went on, there wasn't really any more cars. There was a couple more than what's there on practice day, but still a very low car count. So 3/4 of the way through the year, I think there's only 4 nights left. John decided that he was going to cancel the super stocks for the rest of the season. And I said, well, there had been a couple of guys that come out one night prior to that. They said that they're going to come more often. So we're looking at a little bit better car count. And I said to him, well, give me an opportunity to round these guys up and put it out there and see what we can do. So he gave me that opportunity. He had us off the schedule, and then gave me the opportunity to see if we can round people up. So anyways, we got a few guys coming out there. We had a lot more response and positive feedback on social media than we did actually at the track. But the guys that did show up certainly really appreciated them guys getting there so we could show John that, we do still want to race the Flamborough Speedway and make a goal of it, and even for the 2024 season. But there's just still at that point, there wasn't enough support for him to continue with Frosttoberfest for the Super Stocks. So it was unfortunate. Super Stocks, Frosttoberfest got canceled because of the lack of car counts to support Flamborough Speedway throughout the year. And I understand their decision. They put a lot on the line for that race. So that's kind of how that went. So the guys that did show up, certainly want to extend my appreciation to those guys so we could, the rest of the guys that were showing up all year could finish out the year. That's about how that went.
Yeah, that's it. I remember when I saw the announcement that Flamborough was pulling with super stocks, and I was like, man, like it for even when I was crewing for a guy who was in the super stocks in 2018 there, we had about 5-6 cars on there, maybe 8 on a regular bit, maybe 8 at most. It's been a tough division to keep alive there at Flamborough. And, last year you did a hell of a job. I was behind you 110%. I was really hoping for a lot better of a turnout from cars. Just to come out and just be a part of it for a few races, because even this year, I think Flamborough has them on the card for the season, if I'm not mistaken. And, it sucks because to me, the super stocks are one of the better divisions to be watching to begin with. And, they're such a great class, and the drivers, they're top notch. They race pretty well. The cars they're always loose, which is awesome. I like seeing loose race cars because they look like a handful to drive, and that's what I like watching. And it's really unfortunate for that division. But Roy, again, man, I gotta give you huge props, because again, if it wasn't for you trying to get these guys out there, the class would have died with 4 nights left, and that wouldn't have been fun at all.
Yeah, that's right. So we were trying to keep it alive, so we'll have to see what happens in 2024. Doesn't sound like there's, I don't know, I shouldn't say anything right now. There doesn't sound like there's a lot of interest in guys going back to Flamborough Speedway for some reason. I don't even understand why the car count was so low, because it wasn't too bad the year before. But the Super are fun to race. A bunch of great guys. Pretty good car counts at other tracks. So like I said, I'm not sure what's going on there as far as Flamborough Speedway goes, but hopefully they'll keep alive. I know the Quick Rick's going to be there this year at Flamborough Speedway, so that's at least one good super stock racer we're going to have there. Other than that, I guess it's up to everybody's decision on where they want to run, if they're even going to run. Time's a little tough for some people right now, so they probably can't afford to get there every night. Understandably, it is an expensive sport, so Cashmore last year at the end of the year, he busted his butt to get his car ready to come out for the last night. So that just shows his commitment, and we appreciated him putting in that effort. get out there to keep super stocks alive at the track. But like I said, unfortunately, it just wasn't enough cars at that time for John and whoever else was involved to continue running the super stocks there.
Yeah, we'll have to see what pans out there. Now we're gonna jump all the way back here to when young Roy first got bitten by the racing bug here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came about and how you got behind the wheel of a race car?
Well, I wanted to race cars ever since I was a little kid. My parents found it kind of odd because there was never any kind of racing in our family or anybody that was even interested in cars at that point. So as I grew up, we tried some endurance racing in Delaware way back in, I don't know, 84, 85, 86 maybe, somewhere around there. Yeah, and then I moved up to Port Elgin in 88 and just kind of started a life here. And then in 99, beginning 99, 98, somewhere around there, decided, okay, now's the time for me to get into racing. So my wife and I went to Sauble Speedway and watched the racing and the actions there. Really got hooked, so decided to get a car together. So put a car together and started racing. And then it's a learn as you go. Had a lot of help, met some really good people at the track. Tom and Frank Gibbons are pretty much the first guys that I met there. They were helping me out a little bit, getting the car going, making some changes and getting faster and faster every week we went out. So from then on, we've just been racing really ever since then. I took some time away from it, about 4 years, I guess, and started getting expensive at that point in the late model division. So we took a step back, sold all the equipment, and then I had another opportunity 5 years ago with Bruce Bester to run his cars. So that's what we're doing now.
Nice. Yeah. So you kind of went through a nice little synopsis of your racing career, which is awesome. So when you first got behind the wheel of the car, like you said, you built a car, you took it out to Sauble. How was that first night for you? And what did you think of it?
Oh, it was a thrill. That's for sure. Definitely exciting. You got that excitement, and you're also very worried. How am I going to do? How's the car going to work? Because that time when you're first getting into it, you don't know a whole lot about racing. Just at that time, you think go fast, turn left, but that's not it. So yeah, we went out there and certainly had a lot of fun doing it the first year and learning as we went. Didn't win a single race the first year we were out, and I think we still finished 7th in the points. Missed Rookie of the Year by I think 3 points to another guy that jumped into his dad's car. So that was pretty thrilling too. Going to my first banquet in '99, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, got a couple of awards that first year, so we're very proud of those moments. And yeah, and then 2000, I think we finished 5th in points, 4th in points, somewhere around there. A couple of wins out under the belt, and then 2001, we started winning more races, a lot of heats, more feature races, I think. So we were definitely picking it up at that point, and then making the run for the championship. So 2001, I think I finished 2nd. 2002, I finished 2nd. 2003, I finished 2nd. And then in 2004, I decided to dabble into the late model. So Andy Schmidt had his late model sitting there. He says, "Why don't you and Joe go out and give that a shot?" So went out in his car in the late model. We got Rookie of the Year that year, and we won one late model feature. Finished 3rd in the points that year in the late model, but at the same year, I was also driving the Pro Stock, which was my car. So we finished 2nd in the points of the Pro Stock again, and 3rd in the late model with Rookie of the Year honors in 2004. So that was a very busy year, but it was a lot of fun. The guys that I was going racing with, we just had a great time every time we went there.
Always, I looking back through our messages here, because I like to always pull from what we've talked about, and running the 2 divisions in 1 year. We hear about people doing that, and sometimes it could be stressful. And back then, I'm sure you're running a lot more races than you're running now. So what was that like, having to run 2 different cars in 2 different classes throughout that year?
Keeps you busy through the week, that's for sure. trying to go over 2 cars, make sure they're both ready and prepped to go race with on Saturday night. But like a buddy of mine, Joe Leonard at the time, he was out at the shop with me. We were working on them together. Then I would take one car to the track, and he would take the other car to the track, and Andy'd meet us there most of the time. It was funny, actually, that first late model feature win that we got. It was in Andy's car at that time, which is the same car that I'm driving now. And he wasn't there that night for that win. So we called him up after we went through clear tech and all that, called him up and said, yeah, we won tonight. And he says, meet you at Roy's in 10 minutes. Well, we're 25 minutes away from the track. So we certainly celebrated that night, because it was a huge accomplishment for all of us, so it was a lot of fun. My mom and dad were there for that night, for that race too, that night of racing, and a whole bunch of fans that I didn't even know I had. So it was a good time, that's for sure.
That'd definitely be a one to remember. Do you want to tell us more about that first feature win and like how the night went, how the race went for you?
Yeah. So we were starting near the back of the field, 3/4 of the way through the field, somewhere there. We were working our way up through the field a bit, picking off a little slowly here and there. A few cautions came out here and there, which kind of helped us out. Then there's a bunch of guys got together. I got door slammed and up against the wall, and just kept my foot into it and kept going. And I don't know, we were running probably 5th or 6th at that time. I can't quite remember. And before I knew it, we come out of the mayhem. We're in 3rd. So Andy says to me, I said something like, I don't know what it takes to win a late model race around here. He says, you just stay behind those 2 boys, because they're going to wreck each other. And it was Tim Ellis and Tyler Williams that were leading the race. So I'm right on their tails. Sure enough, they wreck each other with 2 laps to go. And I could feel the car. I could feel vibration in the car. Pretty major vibration in the steering wheel. And so I radioed Joe and I said, like, this thing's shaking around. He says, you're not coming in now. You stay out there. So the restart, 2 to go. We're in 1st, and we ended up pulling it off. So we got into we got our pictures taken and all that. And then one of the officials come around and he says, hey guys, check this out. So I looked at the left front wheel, and there's a big chunk of metal hanging out that jammed itself in between the bead of the tire and the rim. And that's what the shake was that I was feeling. And then, so we got into the pit later, and the guy come over and he says, hey, think I can get my door back from you? So, it was a piece of his right side door that got jammed into our rim, in between the tire and the rim. So we're lucky that thing didn't go flat, that's for sure. So we told him we'll take the tire off and get him this piece of metal back the following week. And next morning went out and the tire was flat. So yeah, so there's a lot of crazy things that happened in that race, that's for sure. But yeah, a lot of times, a lot of races, I was always following Tim Ellis and Tyler Williams, it seemed like. So
that's an awesome story.
Exciting. Yeah. There's probably than that, but those are things that are coming to mind right now.
I was just about to say, I'm like, we're gonna jump back a year here, because you and I were talking about you were telling me about a finish you had in 2003 in the Pro Stock when you were racing against Kevin Cornelius.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that I even told you that story. Yeah, we were excuse me. We were racing pretty hard. Coming up the last lap, Kevin was just on the inside of me, I think, and him and I were just both coming off of turn 4 for the checkered. We're about door handle, and we both just right into it. Just got our foot right to the board. We didn't care whether we were slipping a slide or anything. Anyways, we ended up colliding. I bounced off the wall, came off the wall, hit him. He spun into the grass. I hit the wall so hard, my helmet actually shifted on my head, and I didn't even see myself finish line. That was way before any head and neck restraints that we had. But yeah, just kept my foot into it. I didn't know what direction I was heading in. I just know I got to win this race. My sponsors were out that night, witnessed everything. It was a good race, that's for sure. And I think that race, both of us started at the back as well, and both of us were the field. Pretty good. And I were laughing about it. We both had a good time on that one.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you was it here? We were talking. Yeah, we talked about quite a bit, and I know there was times where I was like in the middle of doing something. Next thing I look back and there's like 6 messages from you, but you know, you definitely have a nice career. You know that you have had so far. Like you said earlier, you picked up a lot of like second place in points. And of course, winning the championship last year, what did that feel like? What did that feel like for your team? Did that make you feel hungry to go out and win another one?
Yeah, it always does. We've been hungry for years just to get our first one. So this one did mean a lot to us. It kind of gets the monkey off your back, so to speak. So we were pretty happy about that. They always say the first one's the hardest one to get. And then, you know, after that, they just seem to, you still have to work at it, obviously, but they come in a little bit easier. Yeah, so hopefully this is the first championship. Hopefully we'll be able to get a few more before the career's over.
And you know, it's always nice. And yeah, you're right. It's always tough to win that first one, even with the races. Their first one's always tough to come by, and then once they come, it's just like nice and easy. It's always fun. How do I put it here? It's always it's always nice hearing about that because you never know what, you know, especially like the last 2 stories here about going back, you know, racing in 04 there and having the you know, getting your first late model win and the way it came about. The same thing in 03 with that with the finish in the pro stock. With that being said, what was your first career win? Like, when did that happen for you?
That would have been in 2001. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did win some races in 2000, I think. Some heat wins, but I never had a feature win in 2000, I don't think. I have to go back on I have to look at my board here. We got pictures and that up on the board. 2001, I think, was a good year. Third year in, we finished second in the points in that year. Pretty sure I got my first win in 2000 in the pro stock division. Running racing, that's when Kevin Cornelius, Tom Gibbons, Todd Davenport, Dan Wright, all those guys, a few other guys, Sean Cook. So yeah, all those guys right around the area here that kind of hung out with a little bit too. Got the first win against all those guys, and yeah, it was pretty exciting. And that year that we did get a few more, so I'm pretty sure that was in 2001. But anyways, yeah. So the first one was very, very exciting. Had some help from Tom. Tom could have passed me very easily, but I think 1 or 2 laps to go, he drove up beside me and he said, and he was just waving his arms, "Come on, Roy, let's go." So, and then he backed out of it a little and gave me a push across the finish line. So he gave me that one, that's for sure. And the rest of the ones that year I earned. So yeah, it's good to have good friends out there. But Tom won the championship that year as well, so he was way ahead of the point. So it didn't matter to him whether he got another win or not. But he knew how important it was for me. So he helped me out along there big time.
That's awesome. So, what different like cars and divisions have you raced, and what one would you say is your favorite to date?
I'd say the super stock class right now is a really good one. Late models back then too were really good. 2004. So I've run in the pro stocks, which has evolved into the super stocks really, if you follow the path. And then the late models from 15, 20 years ago are now, if the chassis are still around, are now suitable for super stocks. So the chassis that we're running is actually 25 years old. It was built in 98 by Tony Cabalon as a late model back then. to get into the super stock class, it had to be the rear clipped because it used to be an underslung car, so now it's an overslung. So it went from pro stocks up to late models. Then the late models kind of petered out a little bit after the All-Star Series. Went to limited late models, so we were good there. And then we did that for a bunch of years. And then I took some time off and then got back into the super stocks, which is almost like what the late models were 20 years ago.
Right.
So those are the divisions that I've always been a V8 division.
That's just crazy to think like the late models 20 years ago are like what super stocks are now for the most part.
Yeah. It is crazy.
So
just the evolution of the sport.
So would that be like, yeah, you're right. Like it's, oh my God, where was that? Was a, so what is really the biggest difference between a late model 20 years ago compared to a super stock now? Besides, I think you answered that with the overslung and underslung, right?
Yeah, that was one of the differences. We run on slicks back then too, 10-inch slicks. The cars were lower. The bodies were late model bodies. Just a little bit different than what the super stock class runs for bodies. But as far as the suspension goes and the adjustments that you can make in the car, they're all basically the same. Back then, the late model had a 9-inch rear end. Now they all have quick change rear ends.
Yeah.
So when you compare a 20-year-old late model to the super stocks today, there's a lot of similarities. Shocks, spring locations, things like that. Even the motors are pretty much the same as what they were back then too.
Jeez. That's just crazy to think.
Yeah.
I think a fun little question I want to ask here is, if you could take your super stock right now and go run it anywhere in Canada or the States, where would you go with it?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I really haven't been following the program for too many tracks except for what's in Ontario here. It's always nice to drive on different tracks. One track I really did like was Chicasa. If it was open again, I would definitely run there. As far as running tracks right now, I don't know. I just pretty much just stick to everything in Ontario to try and keep improving on our programs. I don't know if I'm not interested in really heading over to the States.
Yeah,
places like that. I guess if you had accommodations and the funds to do that, then it might be a different story. But it would take up your whole weekend plus. You're going to be doing that every weekend, right?
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah,
it would take up a lot.
Yeah, so I'm pretty satisfied with doing racing in Ontario.
So with that being said, what has been the toughest track to actually get around for you in your program? Me? And which one you want to improve at?
All of them. It seems like if we stick to one track, we're good. It's for some reason I'm missing something whenever we travel. The last 2 years in the Quick Series, to me, it's just been terrible. We're always having issues with the car when we go to different tracks. So we're working on that this year. We're definitely going to have something a lot better this year when we go to these different tracks. I would say Peterborough's right now is probably the worst track that I just can't seem to get it figured out. The other ones I can get them figured out, but I'm only getting them figured out on the short run. I'm not really getting any kind of long run speed out of the car. So we got to work on that because we do plan on running the Quick Series again this year. So we have to get our game better than what we have been, and then I'll be a lot happier with what we're doing.
So what do your 2024 plans look like looking ahead?
So far right now, if Flamborough had a definite schedule and they were definitely running the super stocks, and we would go back there, but they're what they're doing right now is a little bit different than the other tracks, and I understand exactly why. So our plans right now, we've decided that we're going to hit Sunset Speedway and see how that goes. And if we have, if we're terrible there or something happens, whatever, maybe we'll see how Flamborough is doing as far as the super stocks go. So right now we plan on running a whole season at Sunset and also the Quick Wick Fire Starter Series as well. So 17 races, I think, on the schedule so far.
Nice.
That's with the super stocks, pretty, the Sunset super stocks have been like one of the classes to watch. Like, it's been up coin flip between Delaware and Sunset for some of the best super stock racing in Ontario. What do you think gives Sunset the advantage for drivers to want to come out and run?
The advantage, I'm not too sure. There's a lot of stout competition there, that's for sure. I was looking at the lineup just earlier on today, and yeah, there's going to be good competition out there. So we got to get the car dialed in for there for sure, and then do the best that we can when we get there. Our goals are obviously every year to see if we can get into championship status, but we'll just go there and do the best that we can, and whatever falls in our lap by the end of the year, and then that's where we're at, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Like Delaware and Sunset seem to have the biggest car count. I'm not too sure what it's like at Peterborough. Yeah, we can get out there and do what we can do.
Yeah, Peterborough gets about 8 to 10 cars a week.
Okay.
So they don't do too bad, that's for sure.
No, yeah, it looks like Sunset's probably going to have 10 to 12, I would say.
Yeah.
Looking at the board right now. So it seems to be average. You wonder what happened in the days when you had a field of 20 cars or 24 cars, You have to qualify or you're on the trailer going home. Those days are long gone.
I'm going to be honest. You know what? You're right, though. But that's one question we've been asking ourselves in the Canadian Vintage Modifieds as well for the last 4 years is the car count was great the COVID year because we ran three full events, and then we had about, I think, averaging almost 20 cars an event, and back 20 years ago they were guys going home on the trailer because they didn't qualify.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe those days are long gone of having that many cars, or the people maybe not interested in maybe racing?
I think everybody that has a car is interested in racing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the car. I think it really comes down to affordability. Racing's gotten pretty expensive, especially after COVID. Tire prices went way up. Just parts in general have gone way up. Fuel's up. So your traveling expenses to and from the track are higher than they ever used to be. And we're in a position right here in Port Elgin where the only track that's near us is Sauble Speedway. That's where I did most of my racing throughout my career. But they don't have the super stock class. We raced the United 8 a couple of nights. It wasn't really my style of racing. So any track that we travel to from here is 2.5 hours away. We're right in the big triangle, except Peterborough. Peterborough's 4 hours away, 4.5 almost. So you look at, you're spending $200+ a night just getting to the track and back.
Yeah.
In the truck and the fuel for the car, tires, and all that. It gets pretty expensive. So I think if the prices were to come down where they're more reasonable, which they never will, but I think you'd probably see more cars coming out. But people just can't afford to run a full schedule anymore. Or people can, but you just can't get those full fields that you used to get.
Yeah.
So I think it really comes down to the sense of it.
Yeah, and that obviously that's unfortunate with the kind of the climate we're in now, the financial climate we're in now, and I always said racing is a great sport to get into, but the best way to become a millionaire in racing is to start off with $1 billion.
That's right.
That's the only way to succeed in the sport, in my opinion. But
yeah.
You're right. It's absolutely crazy that everything. You're right. It's 200 Megan, like for your pure stock. What does it cost you to get in Like you only live in Ancaster, you're about 20 minutes away from the track. What's that still cost for you to get round trip?
One night just for myself, I'm gonna say it's at least, I mean, it's $40 admission. Depends if we're going through tires, which typically we do go through tires, and gas on top. I'm gonna say you're spending at least $200 per person a night.
Yeah. It's the climate we're in now is ridiculous, but hopefully we can weather past this storm and we can see more people coming out to speedways this summer or even in the future as well. One little fun thing we like to do on this show here, Roy, is we do have a fan question period where throughout the day, on the day of the recording, we put out our fan question period post and to let people know who's joining us on the show tonight. And we got a couple questions for you. You ready to answer them?
Sure.
All right, Megan, take it away.
Alrighty. Where did it go?
It's all the way at the top of the sheet.
Oh, it is. Okay. William_Trillium said, what is your favorite racing memory?
I have a lot of really good racing memories, actually. So it's pretty hard to pick out one. I think that late model win that we talked about earlier was probably one of my most favorites. Just a lot of good times. Very first time we ever hit Sunset Speedway, we finished third for the Velocity 250. That was a really good night. We could have won that, but we made the wrong adjustment on the car and kind of sent it backwards a little bit. But yeah, a lot of memories, a lot of good wins, a lot of trophy collections. Every trophy has a story behind it, so it's always fun to talk about that when the guys come over sometimes. Especially the little kids, when they come over, grandkids and that, they come over and look at all the trophies. And they pick one, and I tell them what it was about. So that's always fun.
That's awesome.
But I don't really have one particular memory that really stands out. There's a whole bunch of them. But it's a great question for sure.
All right. Well, that was our tailored to you meeting design fan question period. Of course, we want to thank everyone for submitting their questions. And as always, stay tuned every Sunday at noon to see who our next guest on the show will be and submit your questions. We love to have them, and we love to ask pretty much any and all questions for our guests. And of course, we got to thank Roy for taking the time to answer those questions for us. Kind of going back into it here. The one, man, like, I just sent Megan the picture, one of the pictures you sent me of your, speaking of trophies, actually, I sent the picture of all the trophies on your wall there to Megan. I just forwarded it to her so she could see it. And she responded with, my goals for right there. I'm gonna throw this up on the screen here, actually, during the show. So that way people can see it as well. If you're okay with that, Roy.
Sure.
The amount of accolades you have is always impressive. It is impressive by just seeing the trophies on the wall. And like you said, each one has a story, has a great meaning behind it. But of course, with those good times, there's also some heartaches that you don't necessarily get a trophy for. What has been some of those heartaches for you and your team been like, and how have you guys overcome them?
Yeah, I guess some of the heartaches is always finishing second.
Yeah.
We got a pretty good motor program in place. We never had any motor issues lately. Way back in the day, it'd be pretty disappointing when you're, running second or third in a race and all of a sudden you blow a motor up. So those are some pretty big heartaches. That happened quite a few times back in the mid 2000s, right up to 2010, I guess. It just seemed we had some motor issues there for a few years, and that was pretty heartbreaking. One night we went through tech, we were second in the points, I think, with 3 nights to go, and had some issues there. So that that took us back to 7th in the points. One year we were leading the points, and before we were able to run rev limiters or a box, they got jacked up to the back and spun the motor up. The next year we went out, or the next week we went out, still leading the points and blew the motor up. And you know, that's not fun, because then you're scrambling trying to get a motor together. Sometimes we made it. Most of the times we did make it. I think there was one time we didn't make it. Used to hit those Wednesday Dash for Cash invitationals. Seemed like we always had troubles with those races, either blowing a transmission or breaking a rear end or something like that. And again, you're scrambling to get it back together for Saturday night racing just to keep your status up in the points. So, yeah, there's been some heartaches throughout the years, that's for sure. But I mean, it never discourages you. You just keep where you work. You work hard. When something gets thrown in front of you, you work harder. That's how you become successful, I guess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, it's I find the best way to better yourself isn't by winning, it's by losing. Because it makes you want to win that much more.
Yeah. And even making mistakes on wrong adjustments on the car, you're thinking it's going to be better, and it's actually worse. You know, that's pretty heartbreaking, because by the time you're out in the track for the feature, it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
You got what you got.
There's been many a times I remember, like crewing for David Elliott, I would always hear, you know, between the crew chief and Big Jim, and I used to hear between Ed asking Big Jim, David himself, and they'd always be like, what is the track going to do? What is this going to do? Because like, if they had a good starting spot, they wanted to hold it, but they also didn't want to make too big of a change, because of the way the track may have either tightened up or loosened, and they weren't sure what the track was going to do. And you know, when you make a small adjustment and it goes the wrong way, it's such a heartbreak, even if you've got a 30 lap feature, because you're right, you got what you got and you better be happy with it. Because you never know what's, you know, as you won't know what that car is going to do until that, and what the changes you made until you hit that track. And that's the biggest, I'll say the biggest thing about racing, if you don't understand, if you just think there that these drivers sit there and turn left, the strategy and the skill set that is behind the scenes, that's what makes me a fan of this sport, is what you guys have to do.
Yeah, that's right. And they say the races are won in the shop. And that's true too. Your preparation for the races, and even then, you know, you think you're going the right way from notes that you had from the last time, and the track temp's different, or the track tightened up, or you know, and then your setup that you went with isn't as good as what you thought it was going to be. So, yeah, there's a lot of times that we've run into that situation. But it just, you keep notes, and you just make sure that you keep your notes, and try not to make the same mistakes twice. That's all.
Because I know with you drivers, when you guys are taking notes, you guys take note of what the temperature is outside, what the temperature of the tires were, middle, inside, and out, or even check when you're checking the stagger as well. You know, because even if that temperature, if you think it's going to work, but if the temperature outside is 1 degree different, it makes so much of a weird change to your car. It doesn't make, to the naked eye, it doesn't make any sense. But to you drivers who are driving it, it makes all the sense in the world why, you know, maybe taking out 2 pounds of air in the right rear or you know, are adding 2 pounds before the feature. It could either turn your boat into a freaking rocket ship, it turn your car into a rocket ship, or it turn into a boat with an anchor. It is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, I don't I'm still trying to learn a lot of this, but at the same time, like, it's crazy how much of a difference it is. And you know, but you're right, the race isn't won on the track. The race is won in the shop before you even get to the track.
Yeah, that's right.
Your pride and joy is on the track, but all that work in the shop leading up to it is what's important.
Yeah, you're hoping you can go to the track, make some small adjustments, some fine tuning adjustments, and sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not. Even these
Exactly.
pro late model guys, they put in the same thing. You know, they'll use their setup notes from the last time they won at a track, and they go there the next time, and the track's totally different. Something's different, and it doesn't work the same. So they're right back to square one. You know.
And like I find the biggest thing is like, when was the last time it rained at that track?
Yeah, that too.
Because when it washes away all that rubber, that you got a green racetrack. Oh, that's when your notebook really comes in handy.
That's right. Hopefully you have the notes for that condition.
That's what practice day is for, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's hard for us to get out there and just practice, you know, run a track for half a day or something like that, or even an evening, because we're so far away from them all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's yeah, for you guys it's pretty tough. Would you be able to even make it out to like a Sauble Speedway Friday night practice just to run a few laps to make sure everything's all good to go?
Yeah, we've done that before, but Sauble's a little bit different animal again, a little bit different setup than other tracks too. So if you're going out there to see how quick and how good your car is, you can get it working really good at Sauble, and then you go to the next track and you're terrible again. So it's practicing one track and then racing at another track has never worked for me.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to at the track that you're going to be racing at. So we try and get things as close as we can before we leave the shop here, and then use our practice sessions to fine tune the car, dial the car in for that night. But then you get into this early spring or late fall, the track changes right when the sun goes down. So as soon as the sun leaves the pavement, you're on a different track again. So it's another thing you got to keep up on.
Oh yeah. It's always fun watching you guys figure out what changes you need to make before heading out.
Yeah.
It's those conversations are fun to be a fly on the wall on, that's for sure. With that,
yeah, a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
A lot of it's guessing. You know, three of us get together. We should do this. No, we should do that. And then the third guy has another opinion. So you got three opinions flying around. What are we gonna do?
And that first one is so far in left field. The third one's like a slight change. Second guy's like a happy medium. You never know what the. It's all opinions, and that's right. The crazy part.
Yeah.
With that being said, Roy, I do want to thank you for your time tonight of coming on the show. We are gonna have to bring you back on again. I'm hoping we bring you back on later on in the year, as a, to bring you on as a champion at Sunset Speedway or wherever you end up running full time. But I do want to get you back on the show. I want to know more about you, and learn more about. I want to take a little bit more time to get to know you some more, and I think the people would love to hear that if you'd be more than willing to come back on again.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well,
you just let me know when, and I'll make sure I'm there.
Absolutely. With that being said, Roy, who do you want to thank for getting you here and who else helped you out throughout your career?
Oh, I got to really thank our supporters, continued supporters, actually, from last year out of this year. Nothing's changed there. Canadian Crane Rentals, being our primary sponsor, of course, Bester Sports Products. They actually own, our Bruce Bester actually owns the car. Home Hardware has been racing with me off and on for 20 years now. So huge appreciation to them. Big thanks to them. And CPS Flooring, also on the car for the second year this year as well. So looking forward to running the 2024 season with their support behind us once again. And hopefully we can turn some heads. That's the goal.
Well,
and also my crew. I forget about my crew, actually. Bruce and Clay and my wife Lisa are the crew, have been the crew up to now, and now we actually have another crew member coming on board with us this year, Daryl Leacott. So he's going to be our spotter every time we're at Sunset Speedway and for quick races as well. I think there's only maybe a couple of races that he can't get to, but we're certainly welcoming him on board. And we're also looking for one more crew member would be a perfect team.
There we go. If you're also looking to get into a super stock program, maybe head up to Sunset Speedway and tour around with the Quick series. Get a hold of Roy Wilkie and you guys can make that happen. Roy, we got to thank you for joining us this week on the True North Racing Podcast. It has definitely been a pleasure getting to learn more about you, your racing career. We are going to bring you back on. That is 100% guaranteed. And I look forward to having more conversations with you because this season, we will be following you at 2 races because we will be vlogging with you and your race team for 2 races this summer. So we do have to get those scheduled in so we can get those announced as well and put on my calendar so we can lock those dates in so no one else can take them on you.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
Again, Roy, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, bye now.
Right. We'll talk. Okay, bye.
And we're back from our conversation with Roy Wilkie. Roy Wilkie. Of course, we got to thank Graphic Design Studio for bringing us our guest of the week, as well as Taylor to You Media Design for presenting our fan question period. We're 2 shows in, 3 shows in. This is show 3. Holy crap. Next week on the program, oh my God, I'm going to be, I know who it is. And this is next week. We have Jennifer Hatch joining us. I'm going to feel stupid if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm like 90% sure it is.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So next week we'll be joined by the driver, the number 17 Pure Stock, Jennifer Hatch, and we're going to talk Big Booty Judy. We're going to talk what her plans are for 2024. This is going to be her 2nd appearance on the show. So I'm excited to have her on and talk Pure Stock racing. And of course, it's going to be fun because we'll have our first duo Pure Stock drivers of the year with Megan from Flamborough Pure Stock and Jen from the Delaware Speedway Pure Stocks. It's Jesus Christ. I don't know what the fuck just happened. I just scratched a small spot on my arm and I started bleeding. Think about it. Yeah, with that, it's we always enjoy people. The next few weeks is going to be crazy for us. As you guys know, I am now less than 6 weeks away from getting married to Jacqueline. We are in the final stages of preparations. I probably shouldn't be doing this show right about now. But when you guys hear this, I will have my suit picked out. I will, it's getting close, and I'm trying to think, like, do we record a midweek show with a guest and then I air it the Tuesday after the wedding? Dude, like, I am so confuzzled right now on when to record because I don't know when would be appropriate, when would it not be appropriate, when do I have time? Like,
because I feel like I've never planned a wedding, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I just feel like it's gonna be busy mentally and physically.
And that's why I'm thinking, like, if we pre-record a one, I can get it up for after the wedding.
Yeah,
it may work out in our favor.
That's true,
right? But I don't. It's a toss up. If you guys have listened this far, let us know in the comments below or shoot us a message. Should we record a midweek episode and air it just after the wedding? Let us know below. Like I said at the end of the show, that we got to be traveling with Roy this year 2 times. I don't know what races he wants us to go to, but we will be vlogging his two of his races this year. So I don't know if they're gonna be quick races. I don't know if they're gonna be Sunset Speedway races, but once Roy and I talk about that some more, we'll figure it out. We still got a few more drivers to get scheduled. I will be hopefully releasing more dates soon For drivers, we will be vlogging with at the track this summer. Because our gold package is sold, I'm gonna pre-sell next year.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get a 2025 gold package, ask me now about one. I may give you a hell of a deal on it. So if you would like a gold package for 2025, sorry, contact me and let's work out a deal. But Megan, something I'm going to talk about you after. I have some big things in the works. I'm trying to show for Joe Media to take us to bigger places and get people in places so that way I can do more things. And I'm hoping this is me manifesting that this works out for me and works out for us as Joe Media. But yeah, we're gonna manifest this for next year. Again, gold package for 2025. Contact me today. I am also gonna be putting together a special super deluxe ultimate platinum package for next year. Ooh. That might blow your minds, but it may blow your mind in a different way that you don't expect. But we'll see. You're gonna think it's stupid coming from me, but anyways, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're not on Twitter anymore, but follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out joemedia.ca. You can follow Megan in her racing ventures at MRC Racing on Facebook, mrc.racing.73 on Instagram, as well as MRC Racing on TikTok.
True. Nailed it.
Well, guys, we're going to get out of here for tonight, but thank you guys for listening and watching to the True North Racing Podcast. I'm your host, John Morris. As for Megan Mitchell, I'm John Morrison. We'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
See you guys.
Smell the gas and feel the vibe. Going into overdrive. Drop the flag, then the car zooming by. Hey, True North Racing. Let's go.